English as an international language. English has become one of the most widely spoken languages globally, and every day its popularity increases even more. According to Moreno, 1.5 million between native and non-native speakers of English use this language to communicate with others. Today, English is spoken as an official language in more than 75 countries, such as the United States, England, Canada, Australia, and South Africa. This language is also significant in various dominating areas, such as science, medicine, international business, and education. As stated by Hamid Habib, English is considered the international language of business because it brings new countries into contact. Most multinational companies require a certain degree of English from potential employees. So, in order to get a position with a top company, more people are learning this language. Regarding science or medicine, a lot of the technical terminology is based on English. And if someone wants to learn about the latest developments and discoveries from around the world, they need to know this language. It also opens the door in the academic world. Of course, if the best program in your field is in an English speaking country, knowing the language will give you a major facility to study with the top scholars in the important universities from different countries. So, as we can see, English popularity has increased to a point where it can be considered a lingua franca. But what does it mean, lingua franca? According to what Dr. Richard Norquist stated in 2020 in his article, Definition and Examples of a lingua franca is a language of mixture of languages used as a medium of communication by people whose native languages are different. At the same time, the term English as a lingua franca refers to the teaching, learning, and use of the English language as a common means of communication for speakers of different native languages. Having this information in mind, we asked ourselves, how did this language become so massive? Well, the spread of English began with the expansion of the British Empire, reaching all continents. When they started doing trade with places like Asia and Africa, colonizing and settling around the world, the language spread naturally. In the 20th century, after the Second World War, the United States became the dominant world power, causing the English language to acquire even more relevance. The United States became very popular in international business, so English started to be used as the language of global trade. Plus, English became the language of entertainment since most popular music and movies were produced in the USA and the UK. This situation caused a lot of people from various countries to add different elements of the USA and UK culture to their own lifestyle, such as clothing, entertainment, food, music, and so on and so forth.
When we talk about English as an international language or lingua franca, we need to know a few advantages and disadvantages of this method. First, we're going to see some benefits. One of the benefits of English as an international language is facilitating knowledge intercourse. This happens because having a language that connects everyone and having similar concepts while speaking would make it easier for us to deliver knowledge from one culture to another. So, we can say that English acts as a bridge, facilitating communication between people from different places around the world, and allowing them a better understanding and perception of experiences in their life. We can observe this in countries where many different languages are spoken. English is often used as an official language to help people communicate. India is a very good example. English is the common language in this country where at least 24 languages are spoken by more than 1 million people, as stated by Ahmed Habib. The second benefit is that English is a versatile language, so it can be adapted to the world. This implies that word meanings, structure, and pronunciation can make it easier to learn this language. And what does it mean English is a versatile language? As the word says, English has a versatility, a great facility to adapt or change according to different circumstances or purposes, which means that as a language, the meaning of words, pronunciation, and structure becomes easier to learn, and they can adapt to the different communities that use it. India is an example of this too, because it is a country where English is used as a regular language. But there are people who have a particular accent due to their non-nativeness to the language, and in certain circumstances, it is mixed or confused with Hindi, which is a language commonly used in northern India. This would make some words easy to understand and pronounce. On the other hand, though, some of the disadvantages include that English harms languages with a small population of speakers, such as indigenous tongues. As Robert Nielsen explained in 2015, language is more than a mechanism to communicate. It is a part of our identity, and it has an enormous amount of cultural and historical significance. Languages are an important part of culture, since it is the means of transmitting it from one person to another through stories, songs, fables, etc. But if the use of this less spoken language or dialects is lost, part of the culture and its ancestral transmission are lost as well. An example of this is Icelandic, a language of Iceland, which has been losing its use in everyday life. For example, cell phones do not integrate their use in keyboards, causing young people to ignore the language and prefer English or other languages to communicate instead. In addition, there is a high demand from tourists in the country. Therefore, they have to know and speak more common languages than Icelandic.
Acquiring English as a common language can also lead to the assimilation of cultures. Though it isn't inherently bad, a predominating tongue can lead to speakers losing their original culture to behave as the predominant language's culture. As Ann Johnson, a social impact consultant, said, there is no way in which someone can learn a language without accepting the culture that comes with it. Therefore, as one learns the language is forced to accept the cultures of it. And the English language threatens other cultures by molding the learners to accept and behave the way the English people might do. Another point to take into consideration is the rate of inequality that English may cause. Not every age group is able to properly learn English, and not everyone can afford education, much less English lessons. Social and age differences are very relevant at this point, since if we position ourselves in English as an international language, we know that there are people who will not receive the same knowledge or will not have access to it. This will lead to even greater inequality to the ones already existing in the world. Non-native people have a difficult time and are given a harder judgment towards the discourse than those who are native. For example, when it comes to accents, people with a non-native accent or non-standard accents have a higher chance of being discriminated against and unable to get a job. Considering everything we already said, it is fair that as future teachers we question how English as a lingua franca or international language is incorporated or embraced in education. In education, if English is considered an international language, it will help the communication exchange between countries, so that it could be more effortless, and it will help to reach an expansion of knowledge with other cultures of the world without leaving a classroom. It could also help to understand books, research articles, etc. for people who do not have easy access due to their native language, so they could be considered and studied. On the other hand, it will also open the doors to more students in their future careers or jobs that may request the English language for their success in the professional area. Nowadays, in most schools where English is not their native language, it is taught as a second language, generating a change in education. We can also see how parents try to make their children have better English skills through private classes, English institutes, or tutors. According to the Chilean government of President Sebastián Piñera in their National English Strategy from 2014 to 2030, the English language will benefit the country to achieve better development. For this reason, developing adequate English levels has been an active strategy of growth, creating a relevant competitive status among workers in national and international occupations. Because of this, many countries have incorporated different political strategies to incentivize the population to learn and use English from preschool to working stages.
The main objective of this national strategy regarding English is to develop and improve our qualifications in the language to insert Chile into the global market. As we can see, the influence of English as an international language is often seen as more than a mechanism to facilitate communication between people with different native tongues. It also leads governments to incorporate the English language as a form to reach greater economic growth in international business, due to the importance this language has in it, as we mentioned previously, focusing not only on the personal progress of a person, but also thinking about the development of the country in worldwide matters. Another important point regarding education at a global level is multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is a very common term these days. This means the existence of several cultures that coexist in the same physical, geographical, or social space, and encompasses all the differences that are framed within the culture, religious, linguistic, ethnic, etc. Nowadays, it is very common to find classrooms with a large number of cultures, so having a main language, such as English, could facilitate communication with newcomer students who may not understand the languages or the accents of other students and their native language. At the same time, we can identify a great lack of teaching the indigenous languages in the educational system. This happens in different parts of the world, where the ancestral knowledge is not valued or transmitted, leading to language loss, or even worse, language death. In Chile, even though we have tried as a society to bring awareness to the fact that indigenous languages are a big part of who we are as a country, they still do not have enough recognition. Indigenous languages need to be protected and promoted around the world, considering that 40% are at risk of disappearing. A great example of preservation of indigenous language is the one delivered by Paraguay, which between their two official languages has an indigenous one called Guarani, and is a country where the majority of its citizens can communicate through this language. Even the 90% of non-indigenous people can speak it properly. Meanwhile, in the rest of Latin America, the indigenous languages are only used by indigenous communities, according to Carla Garcia. We think that in Chile, English and Mapudungun, along with other indigenous tongues, should be taught hand to hand, with the same importance and participation inside the classrooms. In this way, we can preserve the language and its culture. Considering all the information as agents of change and future teachers, we believe that to make these changes more gradual and without so many consequences, we could help by promoting the use of native languages. In addition, we can teach the students the importance of native cultures through the English language and to be able to generate a relation among them, helping to maintain their culture and the dialects that exist in it. Finally, we can say that it is relevant to have a common language, as we previously stated, because it will facilitate many areas of our life. The preservation of endemic languages is very important, since it is a fundamental element for the various cultures that inhabit the world.